Brother Joe. Please bear with me. I have to have a Holy Ghost so that I can stick to the time. Peace of Christ be with you all, brothers and sisters. I am humbled to be standing in front of you to witness and testify on how my life has changed, joyfully and peacefully, just by attending and listening in this kind of program every time there is one. Actually, this is every year. But last year, because of the pandemic, we didn't have one. But every time, the same program, the same module, but I always get different messages from him. I was once in your shoes in 2012. A year before that, I considered myself broken. My life was like a puzzle, broken and shattered into pieces. My marriage was breaking at the time. I came to New Zealand in 2004 to have a better life for my family. At the time, we had Mulan and Duday, my eldest and my second child. They were 5 and 6 years old at the time. I already have a prayerful life from attending Life in the Spirit seminar as a teenager in Singles for Christ and as a young wife and mother in the charismatic community in our parish in the Philippines. One of my most favorite Bible verses was Psalm 37 verse 4. Apart from the Jeremiah 29:11 and Matthew 6:33. But make the Lord your delight, and He will grant your heart's desire. I began to have a relationship with God, but it was one-way relationship, a shallow one, where it was focused on me, myself, and I. I always believed that my family is my first ministry. I served my husband and my kids in the way I knew how, because I love them. But it's easy to find joy in God's presence when you delight in God, when things are all as I expected it to be. But in 2017, a mission team came to be. TSMT. What is TSMT? It's the APF, Tatay Spin Mission Team. I still recall when my parents came back to New Zealand to visit us, when I gave birth to my youngest child, youngest child hopefully, Esther. She was born in 2017. My Tatay Spin had a massive heart attack on his way when he was in the plane from Australia to New Zealand. When they arrived in New Zealand, as soon as Brother Alan learned of the heart attack episode of my Tatay Spin, he offered to pray over my tatay. So it was like 3 times. On the 3rd time that he had prayed over, it was different occasion, like a week after and then another week. On the 3rd time that pray over, it was at the time during the KPF Community Assembly. I expected restoration and healing would be upon my Tatay Spin. After the assembly, my parents went home together with my family while I was invited by Brother Alan to serve in the teaching event in Karori. It's a different teaching event. During the teaching event, I received a call from my brother husband, Brother Bim, that my tatay was having another chest pain. We had several exchanges of calls and texts till an ambulance arrived because I couldn't go home. It was my calling. I knew and I believed that it was, I have to be there instead of going to my tatay. At the same night, when my tatay been to Wellington Hospital, the same night, one of my children was sexually assaulted by someone whom we welcomed in the community and in our home. It's a long story. I can sit down with you one time and explain everything. But my main point today is how can you find joy? How can I delight in God if not so good things are happening? And the fact that I was serving, He was my priority. God was my priority at the time. All of us, my family, all my family members were serving that whole day. But the words that came to me when I was in that teaching event, serving Him, Lord, what's your message, Lord? How can we overcome this? I did not ask Him why, but I asked how. How can I overcome this? How can we go through this? I trust in your plans, not to harm us. We have a better future in you, Lord. You have my attention, Lord, today, tonight. I am here now, not with my tatay. I give you my heart. I trust in your providence, Lord. And that's it. For 3 years, tatay was in and out of ICU. Almost pronounced dead a couple of times, several times in emergency department. We were pressed down, not to mention the person molested my child, spreading rumors and is oppressing our family. Fast forward, we continue to delight in the Lord through our services. Never have we felt alone during those darkest moments. You know why? With the KPF family that I've got, the KLSP mission team, the Zacchaeus mission team, all the kapatids who supported us and loved us unconditionally. Not only spiritually, mentally, emotionally, but financially. Every month, they are giving money to my KLSP because he was a non-resident. We have to pay for the 100,000 New Zealand dollars bill in hospital bill, all the medications we have to pay, but we did not felt that we were alone. I am an avid fan, I should say, of the KPF Life in the Spirit program. Don't ask me why, but how? By experiencing God's love unconditionally. It is indeed human nature to battle against self-worship. I am always tempted on the latter. You know, like half of the verse of that 37:4, which seems to promise that God will give me whatever my little heart's desire if I do good or be kind to or be helpful or generous or just be by merely serving in my own little ways. But I kid you not, the answer to the how is this. I said yes, Lord, and the rest is history. Through the life in the Holy Spirit, the broken pieces of my puzzle, of my life's puzzle, were put back together the way God has planned it to be. Not my plans, but His plans. Despite the fear of failing over and over again, I took courage. Through this program, the more I got to know God, the more I seek Him, His excellencies, His presence in my life changes everything. I started to pray every single day that God's will be my will. His desire be my desire. His priorities be my priorities. His mission be my mission. It was not easy. The road was narrow. But every time I was pushed down on my knees, I seek His face, feel His presence, and remind myself of God's plan for me. It is a great feeling to be able to live. If I can live rightly and serve Him effectively, only if I am rightly connected with Him in faith, love, and relationship. I need my community to support me, to be able to have faith and love and give that relationship and share it to others. And that's when I find myself rejoicing. Even when facing trials and sufferings, before KPF, before my community, before I attended this kind of program, I would never rejoice in times of trial, but now, desires of my heart has been granted. My marriage is restored. My family, my children, all my children has been renewed, all of us. And I had the chance of caring for my father until his last death, until his last breath. And now, some of my precious friends here with me in KLSP. It all came to be. This is like a dream come true, living the dream. It all came to be when I seek His priorities first and not mine. In every unexpected situation, or if a not so good things happen, I always ask, what? Then how? Not why. What's your message, Lord? How can I overcome this after every misery, trials, pruning, testing, suffering, and in every mission or service I do? But you would ask, no more joy. No, but at the end of the day, there's always full of joy. I find joy in the excellencies of the Lord, our God, in His presence, in God's help for me, in God's perfect love that casts away all worries and fears, in His mercy and compassion for me through the KPF kapatids, through the community, to people that I meet in my work, in wherever I go, whatever I do, I commit and choose to make Jesus happy, not the other side. I do stumble from time to time, but the Holy Spirit always guides me. and make me understand God's own heart. He places this important requirement as I pray and seek His priorities and make them our own. This great qualification prevents me from asking out of selfishness. As I find joy in the Lord, I see what is truly important, and I will always long for these things as the Father does. Brothers and sisters, thank you for coming today. It is God's call, and you answered because you are here instead of going somewhere. Your coming here is you're making the Lord your delight. For sure, God has granted whatever your heart's most desire. He has done it for me. He will do it for you. Something good is going to happen. And I hope and pray that you will always stand in awe of God's presence, all for God's glory. Maraming salamat.